Hi, welcome to Healthy Home Cooking. My name is Christina, and today the weather is so hot. It's almost 100 degrees where I live, and I can't even stand the thought of turning on my stove and cooking anything because it's just going to heat up the whole house. And so today is the perfect day to make something called gazpacho. And gazpacho is a cold vegetable soup, so it's a great way to, I call it a liquid salad. And it's really just all kinds of vegetables blended together, either in a food processor or really ideally just in your blender. And all you have to do is just sort of rough cut all of your vegetables, pile them into the blender, hit go, and a few minutes later you have soup. It's really super easy. So again, great for hot weather, super easy to make, and delicious and very nourishing. Now, gazpacho hails from the country of Spain, and specifically the southern part of Spain called Andalusia. And Andalusia had a lot of Moor transplants, Moors from the Arabic world, moved to that area and brought with them their language and cultures and foods with them. In fact, early recipes do show that gazpacho was made by pounding stale bread with some garlic and olive oil and a little bit of vinegar and allowing that to soak up those flavors and then blended with vegetables to make the soup. So that's kind of the origin of the soup. So let's get started making gazpacho. So we're going to need 3 tomatoes, some fresh basil leaves, a cucumber, red onion, a red and a yellow bell pepper, salt and pepper, sherry vinegar, olive oil, and of course a blender. First, we'll start by cutting our cucumber, and we're going to just start with a half. And I like to peel a cucumber because I find the outer peel just a little too tough. So to make a nice smooth soup, I think it's best to peel it. So let's take all of that peel off and then chop it, just a rough cut. Doesn't have to be small. Your blender is going to pulverize everything, so just, give it a good rough chop and into the blender. Next is our red bell pepper, and I'm going to start with just half of one. And my blender is limited. I don't have a gigantic capacity, so I'm going to just cut up this much to start, and then I can always add a little bit more later if I've got more room to go. Really, the star of the show is the tomato, so we want to focus a little bit more on the tomato, and the others are just there to complement. So into the blender with our red bell pepper. And next is the yellow, same thing, just about half to start. These are pretty big peppers, so that's already, pretty good quantity of bell peppers to go. Into the blender. And you can see it's just a matter of layering everything on. And next are tomatoes. So here's a specialty knife that I have, and I love using this to chop tomatoes. It's not typically something I do to buy a tool just for one use, but this really does come in handy when you are chopping tomatoes. With that pointed end, you can easily cut out that core, and then with the serrated blade, you can easily slice through a tomato without just disintegrating it and tearing it all up. So it's a really handy knife to have. Sometimes they sell them as a tomato knife, but just look for something that looks kind of like that. And so this isn't all of the tomato, but I'm kind of starting to fill up my jar. So I'm going to add some liquid in the form of the sherry vinegar and the extra virgin olive oil, and start by blending that up and lowering the level so that I can add more. So I'm going to just blend that up and make some room for some additional ingredients. So in goes the rest of our tomato. And again, that's about 3 of them. And now just chop up some onion. Again, a rough cut. And this you can do to taste. If you want to add a little less, you certainly can. You don't want to be too heavy on a raw onion flavor. That can be a little overpowering. So just rough cut, and then into our blender. And if you want to add a little bit more later, you certainly can. So that's it for the veggies, and now it's time to add our seasoning. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt and a pretty healthy dose of pepper. And of course, freshly ground is always preferred. And don't be shy. I mean, do add it to taste, but don't be shy with it because it does add a good amount of flavor. And then next is garlic. I've got about 3 cloves here. You can add a little more or less depending on how you like it. This soup really benefits from a strong garlic flavor. I find that is really, really good, but you can certainly put in less. And so let's blend that up and give that a few turns. Oh, and then lastly, the basil. And I'm just gonna tear those in half. That's about 4 or 5 fresh basil leaves, and we're done. Just gonna blend that one more time, and there you have it, gazpacho. So now I'm going to put it in a bowl and give it a taste test and see if anything needs to be added. Maybe I need a little bit more salt, a little more pepper, more garlic, more onion, more bell peppers, and see what needs adjusting. Maybe nothing. So what is so great about this soup is that you can really add and subtract whatever turns you on. I mean, if you don't want the garlic in there, you can certainly leave it out. If you want more, you can put more in. Instead of the sherry vinegar, if you want to put in balsamic vinegar, you could do that. You want to add a different kind of oil than the olive, don't recommend that, but you can certainly do that. If you want to add or take away any onion, you can do that. So it's really up to you to decide what you want in your soup. So it's pretty versatile in that regard. So let me taste this and see how I like it, because I actually may still make some adjustments to it. Oh wow, that's good. I mean, I've got little bits of chunks in there. Oh, and that's the other thing. You don't have to puree it or blend it as finely as I did. You could actually leave some of the tomato and onion and cucumber out and put it on top as a little garnish. I worked at a hotel once where we had little bay shrimp that we put on top of the soup as garnish, which is great. You could put cilantro on top as garnish, or parsley. So I think you get the gist. It's fairly versatile. You can do really any number of things with the soup that you want. But what is important is after you've made it, go ahead and chill it, because it really does need to be chilled. This is something I don't recommend eating at room temperature, even though you'll always find me saying eat everything at room temperature, but this is one that really should be chilled. So after you've made it, maybe put the lid back on the blender top, stick the whole thing into your refrigerator, and just let that sit for an hour or two until it's nice and cold, and enjoy that on a hot day when you want to cool off. This is great with a little bit of crusty bread on the side. I'm going to actually have it with some grilled chicken tonight for dinner, and just a really super low carb, very healthy veggie forward soup, because there's really nothing in it but veggies, and I mean, you've got your veggies for the day for sure. So give it a try. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make gazpacho and will consider trying it at home yourself. It is a super refreshing soup, chock full of vegetables and easy to make to stay refreshed in hot summer weather. So if you like this video, please click the like button and consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the little red bell so that you can be notified when new videos are uploaded. And of course, if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend. Thank you for watching.